and welcome to A Dose of Wellbeing, the Pharmacist Support Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Cochran, and it's great to have you with us as we discuss all things well-being in pharmacy. We're delighted today to have Alison Butt and Karen Murden from the Center for Pharmacy Postgraduate Education, the CPPE, on our Dose of Wellbeing podcast. Karen is a pharmacist and has been an Education Supervisor for CPPE for the last 5 years, supporting pharmacy professionals through the primary care education pathway and more recently, the newly qualified pathway and pharmacy technician development programs. She joined the Return to Practice and Return to Register team in 2023, and in April this year became the lead for these programs. Her role is to lead the delivery of these programs, working with a team of 4 tutors to ensure they're up to date, relevant, and effective. Alison has worked for the CPPE for 9 years, initially as Education Supervisor, and for the last 6 years as Regional Pathways Lead for the North. In this role, she helps develop and support delivery of the primary care pharmacy education pathway, which has seen over 10,500 pharmacy professionals complete one of the extended primary care pathways. About 4 years ago, she trained as a coach to support the coaching service. In this role, she has supported pharmacy professionals to achieve their goals, including supporting progression in their role, building confidence, applying for new roles, and even changing sector. In the podcast today, we'll explore stories about pharmacists who have needed to return to practice or the register, how CPPE has helped, and how mentoring can change lives. This is the first episode of our pod swap with the CPPE, and we're excited to be guesting on CPPE's Pharmacy Conversations podcast in the new year, so do keep an eye out for this. So, hello, Alison and Karen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. We're delighted to be here.
Great. It's wonderful to have you on A Dose of Wellbeing. So I thought we could start off by learning a little bit about CPPE. What would you say are the most important things for our listeners to know about your organization?
Great, thanks, Melissa. So CPPE has been in existence since 1991 and it's funded by NHS England to offer continuing professional development for all pharmacists and pharmacy technicians who provide NHS services in England. And we have been delivering extended education pathways for primary care since 2016. So those pathways are 18 months long for pharmacists and 15 months for pharmacy technicians. We're hosted by the Faculty of Biology, Medicine and Health at the University of Manchester, so just down the road from here. And we have 72,500 pharmacy professionals registered with us on our website. So that includes trainee pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. So we have a very lively website, lots of assessments completed every year, millions of hits, lots of face-to-face events, lots of online learning. So very busy organisation and very active supporting all those pharmacy professionals out there.
Oh, that's great. And here at Pharmacist Support, well-being is at the heart of everything that we do. So from your perspective, how do CPPE's learning resources and support services impact pharmacist, trainee, and student pharmacist well-being, as well as that of technicians?
Yeah, great. CPPE, well, we help, as I've said, all pharmacy professionals to fulfil their potential. So to do this, we offer a wide range of creative learning opportunities. We're always innovating how we deliver our learning to do just that, really, to offer a full range to meet our learners' needs. And that's from our face-to-face events to our online events, our distance learning programs. And you'll see from those that we're really passionate about learning and development. And we've got a really excellent reputation for delivering relevant learning and providing learners with the opportunity to learn with fellow pharmacy professionals at our face-to-face events and our online events, which is really important about pharmacy professionals creating those peer support networks, finding friends at events who can support them through their professional career. So we've really have found that with learners on our extended programs like the primary care pathway and our return to practice and leadership programs, which are longer programs, we've had learners, making friendships, being invited to others' weddings and spa breaks and, things like that, which have evolved from them meeting at one of our events, which then have forged them through to making those peer support networks that will really sustain and support them through a professional career, which, as we all know, with professional careers can have tricky times and challenging times, and having those friends who you can phone on who understand what you're going through or indeed may have been there themselves can be really helpful. So
it sounds like a big part of the well-being benefit is the relationships that are built through these programs, especially because some of them take quite a while. So you're spending a lot of time with these people. And connection is a huge part of well-being. And I know that we have the 5 ways to well-being that we talk about at the charity. And one of those ways is keep learning. And of course, we know that continuing to stay active mentally and feeling like you're achieving and moving forward can also be a big part of well-being and feeling well.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like there are a couple different strands there to how you might be helping with pharmacist well-being.
And helping each other to, I think when you find a peer who's on the same course as you, we all know we have good months and bad months, and having someone who's there who maybe has completed something and you can support each other and mentor and peer support each other is great,
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds brilliant. And there are 3 CPPE services in particular that we often signpost to at Pharmacist Support. And we've seen that these can be genuinely life-changing. So one is the return to practice and the return to register courses. Those are 2 of them. And then also the coaching service. So before we explore each one, could you share what makes these particular services so valuable for people who are navigating change or challenge in their careers?
Yeah, so again, a really important part is the group work. So with regards to return to practice and return to register, they do meet each other in a group, lots of group discussions. By the end of the courses, they often get to know people. They might start their own WhatsApp groups. And I think it can feel quite lonely, the journey of returning to practice. So actually realising that there's people in the same situation, maybe seeing others a little bit ahead of you in that journey, so being inspired by others, but actually being able to listen to others, share ideas, I think that can be really helpful. As well, often people don't really know where to begin. They might not really know what they don't know, or they don't know where to find the resources. So I think the structured step-by-step approach of the courses can be really useful, and it can definitely help with motivation. It can take some people quite a long time, up to a year to get back into practice if they've been out for a long time. So having that structure they can work through with others, that maybe you end up being held accountable a little bit because you've got to do certain work for a certain workshop as well. So I think that really helps as well. And then with the coaching, so they can have up to 6 one-to-one sessions and with a trained coach such as Alison, and then really help sort of support them identify what the goal is and reach that goal.
That's brilliant. And for anyone who hasn't come across your return to practice and return to register courses, could you tell us what they involve, how they support people and help them to get back into the profession?
Yeah, definitely. So they both have an online course, which is tutor supported, and we sort of release 1 week of materials at a time. And they both have workshops as well. But if I focus on the return to register course first, so that's a 6-week online course, and then we have 3 evening workshops for that one. So that one really, it's to support them put their portfolio together that they need to submit to the General Pharmaceutical Council, the GPHC. And as part of that, they have to self-assess themselves against the standards, and they have to put lots of evidence in there. And that can be really daunting. So we help them to sort of interpret the guidance and what that means. They do a lot of work in groups, so sharing ideas about what they might use as evidence, what sort of learning they might have done. We encourage them to do some work shadowing, which again can be quite challenging, trying to find a position. So again, they share hints and tips with each other. And we have quite a lot of resources we share with them and signpost them to different learning they can do, both within CPP and within other organisations. So that's the return to register one. Return to practice. So that one is for people that would like to work in community pharmacy. So either returning from working elsewhere, or they might be new to community pharmacy. So that's a longer course, about 12 weeks altogether. And we have some sort of 4 full day workshops and a couple of evening workshops. So we cover a lot in that time, as you can imagine. Things like community pharmacy contractual framework, so helping them understand how they can get their knowledge and skills up to date to provide services. Things like controlled drug regulations, clinical governance, what they need to do, public health, and then how they can provide person-centred care, so things like consultation skills. So with both courses, the workshops are very interactive. So there will be quizzes, there will be scenarios, case studies, they might do some little role plays, they might give each other feedback. The tutors all have experience within the community pharmacy sector as well, so they can support them as well. So very much kind of help to bring them along that journey with us.
Yeah, that's great. And I imagine that these courses are really transformative for some of the people who take them. What kinds of stories do you hear from people coming through?
So it's always really interesting. We get lots of really lovely emails and people that get in touch to say, oh, remember I did the course and I'm back in practice and this is what I'm doing. Sometimes we've bumped into people, they come up to us at CPP workshops or conferences, and that's really nice to hear that as well. But a couple of examples. So we do have people that join us internationally. Perhaps they want to come and return to working in England. And we've heard of people who that sometimes can be quite difficult. I think one of the very first return to register courses we did, it was when the GPHC process was new and someone was finding that really difficult, but they came on the course, supported them build the portfolio, and within a couple of months they were back on the register, able to move back to the UK and bring their family with them. And we've got quite a lot of examples of that, people from all over the world, Australia, South Africa, who've actually sometimes, because they can't do work shadowing, they obviously can't just pop over. They might have visa restrictions. So being able to do the return to practice course, that often gives them evidence they can use for the portfolio, so that then they will have their portfolio accepted. So yeah, big changes, big moving countries. But I think everyone's, got a different story. We've got people from who work for CPPE that have been on the courses as well. So,
Yeah. And so the people living abroad, would those be people who qualified here and then left for several years and then are trying to come back, or would it be foreign qualified, or a bit of both?
Bit of both, actually. So a lot of people have qualified here and moved. Some people the other way. So some countries you can actually come and work in the UK. It depends where you've done your degree, and it depends, specific for each country, but both.
Wow, fantastic. And so you've covered this a little bit, but what are some of the common reasons, would you say, that people need to return to the register or return to practice?
So a wide variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes financial. There's a lot of people facing redundancy, or maybe they're retiring from their main job, but they just want to be able to work a little bit in community pharmacy. A lot of people returning from a sort of extended maternity leave, childcare break, or they've taken time off to look after a relative who's poorly, perhaps. People themselves recovering from an illness, an accident, a dependency. Some people with fitness to practice issues or relocating. We get people that have gone and perhaps they qualified as a pharmacist and worked as a pharmacist, but then they went to do something completely different. And I always find that really interesting, the breadth of careers. You know, we've had people that are doctors, solicitors, financial advisors, been teaching. Somebody was a scuba diver instructor. You know, we're all sorts. And I think that kind of adds to the richness of the discussions in the workshops as well, all the different things that people have done.
Yeah, that must be really fascinating.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And returning after a break, I'm sure can feel daunting. I'm thinking about your scuba instructor.
Yeah.
I mean, going from doing that for several years to being a practicing pharmacist again. I mean, it must feel a million miles away from what you've been doing. So, in your experience, what well-being related challenges do people tend to face? Could be around confidence, maybe about skills fading, anxiety, reconnecting with workplace culture. What do you see as the well-being challenges of this group?
So I think all of those that you've just mentioned, Melissa, really.
Yeah.
We ask people at the beginning of the workshops, if they wish, to share in the chat how they are feeling.
Yeah.
And the lack of confidence, feeling anxious, those really come through. Some people are also feeling really excited. They've got to this point in the journey where they're thinking, actually, this is something I want to do. So they're really looking forward to it as well. Some people on the course have got some really sort of challenging personal circumstances, often the reason why they came off the register or moved away anyway. Yeah. So some of them have got those to deal with as well. But I think it is really around that. The sort of the stress of the unknown, the trying to plan what they're going to do. Often, if they're maybe considering working in community pharmacy, maybe as a locum, they're a bit scared about being on their own as the only pharmacist. And who will their support network be? Who will they get in touch with if they're not sure what to do? Or are they going to be the responsible pharmacist? So I think there's a lot around that kind of uncertainty there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes really good sense. And some listeners may worry that they've been away too long. So have you seen people return successfully after long periods, such as maybe 10 years or more? And if so, what kind of reassuring advice could you offer someone in that situation?
Yeah, so definitely. I think on every course I've facilitated, we've had someone that's been away for more than 10 years. Yeah. We've had people that have been away for up to 30 years. Wow. And definitely we know of people that have been away for 20 years coming back to the register. I think reassuring advice really that actually, yes, it can be done and people do it. It depends what you've been doing in the meantime as to how long it's going to take you. So I think I would say to people, it is going to be a journey. There is going to be a lot to do. If you come on a course, actually there's people there that can support you and that can help with that motivation. One thing we really encourage people to think about is the transferable skills they've picked up along the way, and because sometimes they don't recognise those. So the leadership, if they've been volunteering, the kind of caring responsibilities, they might have been caring with someone with dementia, for example. So they then, they know a lot more about different conditions, the communication skills. So they do have something that can support with that as well. So I would just say, pick up the phone or, speak to people, find people that can support you. But definitely, it's definitely worth doing. And we know lots of people that have achieved that and been really successful and enjoying what they're doing now.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point that you make, that just because you've been out for so long, you haven't been doing nothing.
No. Yeah.
There will be something that you have learned, that you've grown into, that you've grown from, that you can bring into the profession. So I think that's a brilliant point that, we're all coming from different times and stages in our lives, but you'll be bringing something unique and special with you as you come back in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And another impactful service that you offer, and one that is close to my heart because I think it can be really life-changing, is coaching. So can you tell us a little bit about what coaching is and how it differs from other forms of support like peer support or counselling?
Yeah. So our coaching service is available to all GPHC registrants in England, and it's particularly around if they've got a specific work goal that they want support with and they want to achieve that in a supportive framework. And they really do have to put in the work. And I think as coaches, we do challenge them, to do that. We agree the goal. Sometimes they can come to us and they don't really know what the goal is. So we can do a bit of exploration as to what it is they're wanting to achieve. We might chunk that down into manageable goals and, progress as we go. And we have a dedicated team of coaches who can work with all pharmacy professionals to find the right path for them. And in terms of how it differs from peer support, peer support will be much more about working with someone who's got that shared lived experience. So, someone who might be in the same area of work as you and will focus on, validation, walking alongside for them. Whereas the coaching is really much more goal driven and facilitates change with like structured methods. And mentoring will be much more about a more experienced person in the field supporting you. So that might be someone who might be more senior than you or may have started where you are and has lived the dream and now has moved on and can offer you that practical mentoring, what worked for them. And maybe could open doors for you as well in terms of that mentoring relationship, and will give you advice really based on their experience as well. Whereas counselling will focus much more on supportive, emotional healing, psychological issues, and that generally would be delivered by a trained mental health professional. And it may address things like trauma, health conditions, emotional distress that pharmacy professionals may have experienced or be experienced, really looking at their past and present struggles. So when people apply for the coaching service, we do look through the information that they provide us with. Sometimes we may have an initial chat with them to explore their issue further, and we may provide them with more information about whether the coaching service is right for them at this point. And if it isn't, we will direct them, signpost them to other forms of support that might be more suitable or appropriate services. Indeed, pharmacist support is one of those services that we do signpost people to. So depending on the query and the nature, sometimes people put 2 lines down. So we might need an exploratory chat to find out, is mentoring going to be better for them, peer support, counselling, therapy, or is coaching really what they need? So we do explore that with them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things I picked up that it sounds like you were saying coaching specifically does, it sounds like it creates accountability. So it's creating goals and being a person to hold them to that and say, what have you done to progress toward this goal this week or this month or whatever? So having that accountability partner, which we know can be really powerful for change.
Oh, absolutely. And, know, sometimes as a coach, you can be pushed into having those difficult conversations, or, you agreed to do this and you haven't, what are you going to do about that, and what and really exploring what the barriers are and why they haven't done things. And sometimes people aren't ready to move to that goal, but they've got to buy into it, haven't they, to see the change. So it can be challenging on both sides.
It's interesting as well, because it sounds like coming from some of those conversations, you might uncover something and say, it might be really helpful to get some counseling or therapy or whatever around that area so that you can then progress on with your coaching and your accountability and moving towards goals. So it sounds like a very good process for helping people to both move forward in the moment, but also to maybe signpost them to getting some help for other deeper things that might be holding them back.
Absolutely. And, we all know that things can happen in careers that can really stifle somebody, really throw them. They can become stuck in wherever they were when whatever it was happened to them, and
Yes.
they need to move on from that. And it's great when they reach out to us, because that is the first step in the process, isn't it? That recognising there is an issue and they do want to move forward. So it can be a great experience as a coach. And as Karen said, I've bumped into people I've coached at conferences. They've come up and said hello, and I was like, oh, I've really met them on the Zoom, and it's so nice to see them in person and hear where they are now, because you've been really invested as a coach. You are their cheerleader. You want them to progress, you want the best for them, and you hold them to account for doing that. And it's kind of, they can be really grateful, but so can we as well, because I think, you get a lot from seeing somebody progress to what they want to do. It's a nice thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And are there any common themes or challenges that people tend to come to you with? Are there things you see?
And it can be, as I said, it can be really when they're feeling a bit stuck. So sometimes they mightn't be able to articulate what the goal is, but they know they want to make that change. They want to explore options. They want to set a goal. They want to work towards achieving that goal. And we can really help them pin that down, uncover, dust off, what is that goal, explore it a bit more, visualize it, get them to visualize it. How do they see themselves when they're there? How do they feel, exploring all that emotional side, which can help with the motivation to get there. And there can be different motivations, can't there? It can be the next job, it can be more, motivation, power in the relationship, autonomy in their workplace, etc. And sometimes people are facing really challenging working conditions. We all know at the moment there are real challenges in the workplace for people, and they need to find a way to address them. Mm-hmm. Imposter syndrome is a really common theme we see coming through, and the coaching team can really help explore that. And challenge those kind of self-limiting beliefs that people held on to, which held them back. So we try to help build their confidence, help them to help themselves to build the confidence, really, how are they going to do that? And sometimes you've got to push out your comfort zone to get the opportunity to build your confidence, haven't you? Which can be hard, taking that first step. Yeah. If you're lacking in confidence. But as their cheerleader, we, support them to have a go. What's the worst thing that can happen? And, try to encourage them to do that.
That sounds really transformational. And I think a lot of us really connect with stories. So do you have any stories of people making major changes or transformations through the program?
Yeah, I think transformational is a big word, but we have really positive testimonials coming through all the time, really, from... and sometimes it mightn't be at that exact time, might it? But it might have been the coaching service put them on one step in a direction that they'd not been before. And a few years down the track, that's led to major change. And, we did have a pharmacy technician who was working in a new sector, going through really challenging personal circumstances, struggling with self-confidence and belief and that imposter syndrome. And they were guided through a variety of activities and supplied with some tools and techniques to help them challenge those self-limiting beliefs. And they finished all their sessions with this Magnificent Me activity, which really gets them to visualize and focus, what is the change that they're going to see? How does that feel? What does that look like? What will you be doing? Really explore that magnificent me that they want to be when they've achieved this goal. And that really stretched them to come out of the comfort zone, left them with those really positive messages that 3 years on, still helping them to believe in themselves more. And I think if you're someone who struggles with imposter syndrome, that will not go away. But when it rears its head again, you've got a few tools in the toolbox to draw on. You think, been here before, what did I do? I did this, I tried this, let's try that again. Let's have those change the inner narrative that's going through my head. And, some of those tools can be really helpful. And this particular pharmacy technician looked for more opportunities in work, got a promotion, which led to a job in a leadership team, and from having that job, has really embraced all the changes and learning and development that new role has brought. I know they'd say themselves that the imposter syndrome hasn't disappeared, but the coaching service has really helped them develop those tools, those techniques. And now, after their positive experience, they do the promotion for us. And I think that's what happens is people who've had coaching and been to the coaching service, they do the onward promotion because they will say to peers or friends or colleagues who are struggling, have you tried CPPE's coaching service? Because I found it really helpful because I was really struggling with X, Y, or Z, and I went to them and it just unlocked that for me. So I think they pay it forward as well. So we'll either get a referral or maybe they'll share what worked for them, and that'll be enough. Yeah.
I think that's the most powerful way of promoting any service, isn't it? Because when you work for the organization, you can talk on and on and on about it, but it's really hearing from someone who's been through it, and maybe you resonate with their life circumstances, or you think, oh, I feel a bit like that, and you hear how they came out the other side, and you think, oh, there might be a possibility for me too. And that is probably the best way to reach people, is through those stories and those testimonials.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's great. So to finish off, I thought I would ask some sort of quick fire questions about your services. So shall we go ahead and do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So who can access your services?
So that's pharmacists and pharmacy technicians registered with the GPHC and working in England.
Okay.
Predominantly.
Great. And does this include pharmacy students and trainee pharmacists?
It includes trainee pharmacists, but some of our learning is available to pharmacy students, but is mainly designed to support post-qualification use. So
right. Okay, great. And is your support predominantly for people in England, or is any of your support available in Wales or Scotland?
So our support is for people in England, although the other home nations do sometimes use our materials and vice versa, but we agree that with them, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so some material sharing going on. Yeah, that's great. And are your services free to access, or is there any cost involved?
Yeah, so the majority of our services and resources are free to access. For the Return to Practice course, there is a sort of nominal fee of £100 that we charge for that one. For healthcare professionals not registered with the GPHC, there are quite a lot of our courses that they can access. And if they go to the website, we have, there's a list on there of our sort of open access courses as well.
Amazing. So as we bring the podcast to a close, what final thoughts, encouragement, or advice would you give to pharmacists, trainees, technicians, students, anyone who's feeling a bit uncertain about their career path, who may be lacking in confidence, and who's not really sure what their next steps would be? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd say join the 72,500 pharmacy professionals who have joined our website. Go and have a look on the website. We have got events running in your area close to you, of an evening, of a weekend, or online events. Come and join us at one of our online events, because at that you will meet other people. You will have opportunities to chat to other people who are working in other sectors, or who maybe have got that promotion you're after. And, you can have those conversations in the coffee breaks and build that peer support network and that connection, which might help you for the next stage in your career, isn't it? Knowing what the opportunities are. And I think it's fascinating when you come to our events, because there'll be people from health and justice, there'll be people who work in hospitals, there'll be people working in community pharmacy and primary care, across all the range of sectors of pharmacy practice. There'll be people who work in higher education, and it's great to get all that in, and you'll find people who've been scuba divers in the past.
You might do, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say the same, really. It's just get out there, network, meet people, be curious, ask questions, develop your network, on sort of social media networks as well as face-to-face. But I think the face-to-face events that Alison's mentioned, I think that is what's really important, because that's where you get those sort of conversations over coffee, you get to chat to people. There's loads of opportunities. So just take the first step, I think. Yeah. But if you're not sure, get in touch with us at CPPE, because I'm sure we've got something we can help you with as well. So some way to signpost you.
And if you're nervous about coming to a face-to-face event because, you might have been living in this online world for a long time, please don't be. You will get a really warm welcome from our tutors, and you'll also get a really warm welcome from other learners who are at the event as well. Plus you get really nice tea and coffee and biscuits and things. So, that's nice as well. So, even after work, you'll be really well looked after in a supportive environment. So give it a go, because I think you'll love it. We do get people who come and then they always come back, don't they, when we have new events?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. So again, we're looking at that human connection. That's one thing I heard come through really strongly from both of you, that you get that human connection. You get joined up with other people who might be in similar circumstances. And Karen, you said something that I thought was really interesting. You said, be curious. And I think that's such a huge piece, because if we can be curious, if we can be asking the important questions, nothing starts before you have the idea, so it's about being curious, getting an idea, having a spark, and then moving forward from there. So I think that's a really lovely thought to stop on there.
Brilliant. Thanks.
So it's been a great conversation, and I really want to thank you both for coming to Manchester to be a part of the podcast, to talk about what you're doing, to promote the coaching and the return to practice and the return to register programs that you offer, because I think they're so important to pharmacists. And we do talk to pharmacists who have life-changing experiences through what you offer at CPPE. So thank you again, Karen and Alison, for being here today and sharing your experiences. So I do encourage people to subscribe to CPPE's Pharmacy Conversations podcast, as well as our Dose of Wellbeing podcast, and to keep an eye out for our podcast exchange as well. Absolutely. So I'll look forward to talking to you again. We always hope our listeners are feeling inspired to bring about positive changes in their own lives. If today's podcast has resonated with you, you'll find further wellbeing information, videos, and online content on our website and our wellbeing learning platform, which is available to pharmacists, pharmacy students, and trainees for free. For further information on our support services, please click on the How We Can Help link in the podcast description. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you feel you may need support. We want to continue providing our free and confidential support services, and to open up conversations like this to ensure that no one in our pharmacy family faces challenging times alone. As an independent charity, we rely on donations from individuals and organizations across the profession to enable us to do this. So if you're in a position to do so, please consider making a donation today. You can find a QR code in the show's description or at the end of the video. Donations help us to provide our essential services, including our counseling and peer support, financial assistance, and more. So thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again on our next podcast.